If flights are the reason you're not booking the trip, this episode is for you. We rarely pay full price for airfare, not because we're lucky, but because we're strategic. Today, we're sharing our top ways we save money on flights, from positioning flights and companion passes to smart search tools and credit card perks that cut costs fast. Welcome to the Savvy Travel Moms podcast. If you are a mom who wants to travel more with your family without spending a fortune, you're in the right place. I'm Michelle, the bougie one.
Joy, the practical one. We are two moms with different travel styles, but the same savvy mindset. In our show, we will break down family-friendly travel tips, points and miles, and realistic strategies that fit into a busy mom life. From hotel robes and room service to free breakfast and budget wins, we will help you turn everyday life into unforgettable family memories.
Real moms, real travel, real strategies. Okay, let's get into it, because flights are usually the biggest mental and financial hurdle when planning a trip. People think the hotel is the hard part, but when you're pricing flights for a whole family, that's when it can feel impossible. So today we're walking you through the exact ways we consistently cut flight costs, sometimes dramatically, using simple strategies that anyone can apply. So Joy, why don't you start us off and explain how we're going to know when it's a good time to book a flight?
You know, I really have a love-hate relationship with this question, Michelle. I'm going to be honest. I think this is a rabbit hole that if you start Googling, you end up with so many different thoughts and opinions. First off, you book the flight when you're ready and you find the best deal at that time. But there are a few ways and tools that you can use to help you save money on that. Now, depending on what airline that you're flying, certain airlines do tend to have better flight pricing on certain days. In your home airport, you may find more favorable days that you can book on. Like my home airport, I find much lower flights on Wednesday and Thursday. So a lot of our long weekend trips, we always leave on Thursday because it's usually a lot less than flying out on Friday. So time of day that you're looking to leave matters as well. Those early morning flights are usually going to be a little bit less than the midday flights because they are more prime time. You know, I even read an article about if you search your flights at like 2:30 in the morning, that they're going to be lower because nobody's booking to make the algorithm force it to be higher at that time. But there's, I mean, I don't know, Michelle, what are the crazy things you've heard?
I don't know. I think you need to test it out, Joy. Take one for the team and stay up late.
I will not be getting up at 2:30. Now, if I'm up in the middle of the night, I will probably search flights just for the fun of it. So maybe next time I can't sleep, I'll try it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think it kind of frustrates me when other travel accounts or points and miles accounts say that that's always a myth about there being certain days or times that are better, because I just think that's not true. Joy and I were just talking before we started this episode about Southwest as an example, and they are cheaper in miles certain days of the week. So it's really not a myth. It's actually a great way for those of us that are flexible to be able to find better deals. And I don't know if it's because people just want to fly out on the weekends, so that's why they say that. But if you go through an airline calendar, which is really nice, I would say that's another great tip, is a lot of times you can pull up an entire month of a calendar and you can keep scrolling and you literally can see the trends. You're going to be able to see when is a better time to book. And I think that's what we do, right? We study the calendar because the flights are going to decide if you can even take a trip. So that's one of the first things I do is I will pull up an airline calendar and I study it and I look through it for the entire year. And that helps me get an idea if I think I'm even going to be able to make the trip happen.
That's such a great idea. I don't even think about that. But that's the
Yeah.
difference. Like, you're a homeschool mom, so you have
Yeah.
that flexibility to plan your trip around slower seasons.
Yes.
My kids
Yep.
are in public school, so we have to go around school breaks. So I'll look at like June and July and figure out which
Yep.
is the better time in June or July to go. But that's pretty much
Yeah.
it. Or if I need to pull my kids out on Friday or a Monday to make our trip work
Yep.
better and miss a couple days. But man, that's such a good idea if you don't have calendar constraints to look at the year as a whole and plan your trip around that.
Yeah, 100%. That's literally how I do every single trip because we can travel whenever we want. We have a certain amount of time that we can be gone because I don't think I've mentioned this on here, but I mention it a lot on my Instagram that my husband's job, he doesn't get any paid time off. When he doesn't work, he doesn't make money. So when we budget for trips, we not only budget the trip, but we also budget how much time he's off work. We're really strategic, right, about how many days we're gone. If we're going to have a really long trip, then the next trip needs to be a really short trip. So I go through the calendar and I always look like you said, and I try to find that day like for the flight, the departure flight, and I'm like, "Ooh, September 20th, perfect." And then I'll go and I'll switch it the flights back home and I'll look for that next date. And maybe we're going to be gone for 7 days. Maybe we're going to be gone for 10 days. That's what happened with our flights that we have this September to Munich, Germany. I ended up extending the trip 2 extra days than I originally had planned because the flights were so much lower in miles 2 days later than they were the original day that I wanted to come back. So having that flexibility does help. And I know that a lot of times if you're in public school, you don't have that flexibility, but if you can kind of finagle things
Yeah.
a few days, you'd really be surprised how good of a deal you can find by doing it that way.
I love that tip. Now, so I do things a little differently than you. I will look at my kids' school calendar and try to plan really far out. Like, I'm talking at least 6, 8 months, even maybe up
Yep.
to a year if I can, because the major airlines, especially for international trips, their calendars are going to be released 331 days in advance. Now,
Yep.
Southwest, Frontier, some of those smaller airlines or just domestic airlines are not going to have as far out calendars. But
Nope.
generally, the farther out you book, the better deal you're going to get. So I try to watch my calendars farther out and book
Yep.
to get that deal. Another option is really close in. You might find some sales really close in if you can get really good flexibility, like
Yep.
for a last minute summer getaway or something. That's always another option, especially if you want to be a business class. If you're looking to
Yes.
fly in that luxury experience, close in is when you're going to really get the deals for those.
I know. And I feel like as moms, none of us really are close to the actual trip people. And I don't honestly, I mean, I really don't know how people that fly business do it because I'm like I'm searching the calendar, but when I say I'm searching the calendar, it is a year out, right? I'm studying the calendar so that when my dates open, I'm ready to go and this is going to be the best deal that I can get because I don't want to wait. Like I don't want to miss my trip or something doesn't happen. So I don't know how people do that because that literally would stress me out waiting till the last minute and hope that something really good comes up.
I know. Well, plus the farther out you look, the more time you have to get a plan. Like if you don't have
Yep.
enough points, you can come up with a good points earning plan. Or
Yes,
you can be like,
100%.
all right, I'm budgeting cash. This is how much it's going to cost me. Let me
Yep.
figure out how to come up with this money between now and
Mhm.
then. And you can give
Uh-huh.
yourself, like, you don't have to book them a year out, but you know at that point you
Yes.
have your date
Mhm.
range. You can
Yep.
watch for specials, you can set Google alerts, you can
Yes.
set different alerts, and you can then jump on it when the price is right. And as long as you're booking it like 8 months out, you're still going to get a
Yep.
really good deal.
And what you just said really struck me because I started to think about that. You're so right. That's such a great way to know what miles we need to be earning, because that's exactly what I'm doing for 2027 right now, because I really want to go to Jordan. And I was looking in Seats.Aero, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in this episode. But I was looking because I didn't know what airlines were going to be the best to fly to Jordan. And
Hmm.
every time I was searching, Atmos was always coming up as being a really great option. It's Atmos and American Airlines. I have a lot of American Airlines miles currently, but I have a few other trips that I want to use them for, and I'm not 100% set that I would want to use them for Jordan when there is another option. So,
Hmm.
as an example, I don't have any Atmos miles right now. So, I'm planning when I finish the welcome offer that I have right now to open an Atmos card. So that way I can start earning those miles, because where I'm looking right now, those flights aren't even released yet. But I know that that's the airline that I'm going to need. So you start working on earning those miles now. So that way, when they open, you've got your miles and you're ready to go. Because I think
Yeah.
that's the other thing that families really go wrong is they find a flight and then they realize, oh wait, I don't have that type of miles. And then maybe the transfer partner, the flight wasn't released to the transfer partner, and then you are feeling really stuck. So preparing ahead of time and knowing what airline you're going to need miles for is actually really a good idea. That's a great place to start too.
Yeah. I mean, I always try to look at sweet spots, right? Like if
Yep.
I have a trip and I know I want to go to the Caribbean, my first
Yep.
go-to is going to be Atmos or American because those are the
American.
best
Yep.
way to get to the Caribbean. So those are miles I
Yep.
always try to keep a stash of, and
Yeah.
that's why we talk about American so much because it is such a sweet
Yes.
spot all over the place. And I think just educating yourself on the best airlines for that area, right? Like,
Yep.
yes, you can take Delta to get to the Caribbean, but it's not the best deal, and you're going to spend twice, three times as many points or
Yep.
cash, so learning your sweet spots to get where you're going, which I think is going to lead me into our next point, Michelle. When we're in
Yep.
the world of points and miles, one thing I love to catch is a good transfer bonus. And right now, through February 28th, there's an elevated transfer bonus on Virgin Atlantic from Chase, which is a 40% transfer bonus. Now, I
Yep.
love a good transfer bonus,
You
especially to
do.
Virgin. I have used this I have used a transfer bonus to Virgin more times than I can count in the
You
past
have.
year. Um,
Oh,
because for every 1,000 miles that you transfer right now from Chase, they give you 400 miles. So if you were using the calendar view, like Michelle talked about a while ago, on Virgin Atlantic's website, it's called the Reward Seat Checker, and it gives you the calendar view, and you can go month by month, and they have flights for as low as 6,000 miles per person to get you from New York to London. And
love
right
it.
now, if you are still trying to plan your summer trip for your family, there are plenty of holes in the end of May and June for those flights for 6,000 miles per person. But when you double it with that transfer bonus, you can get to London for 4,300 miles per person on Virgin Atlantic. Now, this
That's
is
crazy.
insane. You can't even really get around the United States for
No,
that low.
no, no, 100%. That's why I don't do a lot of United States travel, because the miles are always so high. I'm like, if I could go to Europe, why would I spend that? So I think, yeah, this is amazing. I love when Virgin Atlantic has transfer bonuses. And you're the transfer bonus queen. You always get them. So you need to book something.
I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting down this morning and I was like, "Ooh, can I squeeze in a trip in
One
May or
more.
June to London?" And I went ahead and I looked in November, December, and I'm like, "Should we do a Christmas market?"
Christmas
So
markets.
I was going through their whole calendar thinking, how can I
Oh
make
my
a trip to
gosh.
London work? Because 4,300 miles per person is insane to get to London.
Okay, why don't we take a girls' trip for the Christmas markets?
They had some 6,000 point dates in December
Because
on a
I
Wednesday.
because I feel like I'm still not sold that my kids will love Christmas markets as much as I would love a Christmas market. And we've already been to a Christmas market together. So I feel like that could be really fun for a girls' trip.
I mean, I'm down. Let's do it.
Well, how were they in business? Because the business, I mean, it's a lot in taxes and fees. So I think that's the downside for business class. But with a lot of times, the business is only 29,000 miles. So you add in the transfer bonus and then it's even better. But the taxes and fees are so high. I'm like, I just want to fly business once, one
Not in
time.
December, but there
Oh,
were
yeah.
some
Nah.
really great, like I'm talking 27,500 miles for May or June. There might have even been a few in September for
Oh my
London for business
gosh.
class. I didn't do the math on what that would be, and I'm not a
Yeah.
math person, so I'm not going to attempt it right now. But you,
Yeah.
whatever the 40% transfer bonus is, I mean, that's what, 20,000-ish miles
I
for
know.
business
I
class?
know. For business class. Yes, it's insane. I know. And I've seen pictures of it and it looks really nice.
My parents love it. My mom has flown Virgin business, or sorry, Virgin upper class is what they call it so many
Yes.
times.
Yep. Yep.
Now, there is, if you want to chase a transfer bonus and maybe you can't make the Virgin one work for you, I will link in the show notes. There is a website that I like to track where it lists out the history of transfer bonuses, and a lot of them do repeat themselves. So if you
Yes.
track the history of transfer bonuses, you'll be able to time your travel around it. Virgin always has really amazing transfer bonuses. IHG will give like
Yep.
70, 80, 100% transfer
Yes.
bonuses. So those are some of my favorite ones to capture.
Yep.
Um, Now, with all transfer bonuses, once you transfer your points out of your main bank, whether it be your American Express, your Chase, your Capital One, you cannot get them back.
Yep.
So, unless you are 100% positive, you will use
Yeah.
those points. Do not jump on a transfer bonus because you can't, they're there. You can't get your points back and use them elsewhere. The only
Yeah.
time I've done that was when Chase did that random Southwest transfer bonus earlier this year.
Yes.
I think I moved over like, I don't know, 30,000 points or something just to do it because it was a transfer bonus.
I love that. Yeah, I think a lot of times that is a downside that people don't realize is the speculative transfer is what we call it. You know, they get excited and they transfer a lot of points somewhere and then they realize, "Oh, I didn't even look to see if there was a good flight that I could actually take." So, I think it's wise to wait. And I've shared this before, but I have never had a transfer bonus and I am still here and traveling the world. So, transfer bonuses are amazing. But, like Joy said, check the website, look for trends, and it's also just okay, right? I've never had one and I'm still getting really great deals on flights. So, it's okay if you miss it. And there will be another one. There always is another transfer bonus.
The goal at the end of the day is to save money. And no
Yep.
matter what that looks like, saving money to me is going to look very different from saving money to Michelle, to saving money to my mom, to saving money to you. So it's going
Yep.
to just, the goal is you save money, whether that means you have enough points to cover your hotel, or only enough points to cover your flights, or just enough points to cover your rental car, or whatever it may be.
Yep.
The goal is that we are saving money on our vacation so we can do it more.
That's so true. So, the next part that we should start to talk about is flight positioning because we have figured out when to book a flight, the transfer bonuses with it, but now we need to figure out the flight positioning. I don't do a ton of flight positioning, but I know that Joy, you like to do this. So, do you want to share how you decide if you're going to do a positioning flight or not?
Yes, well, I mean, you're right there near Detroit, and
It's
it's
true.
and
Yeah.
Chicago's not too
In
far from
Chicago.
you. So
Yes.
you
Yep.
have amazing, huge airport hubs. I'm in
Yes.
Nashville.
Yep.
Atlanta is drivable, but I don't ever really find great points deals out of Atlanta, if I'm being completely honest. So
Yep.
I do position, which is basically chasing the deal. Positioning is where when you go to book a trip, you worry about that long haul piece first, which is if I'm going to Europe, I'm going to get to Europe first, right? I'm going to find the best deal I can from anywhere in the United States to Europe. And then I know that I can leverage my points that I have to get me to that city, whether it be like through my Southwest Companion Pass or just finding a really good deal on AA flights or using Atmos miles. Or
Yep.
even for me, I like to position out of JFK in New York because I can get to New York using JetBlue. I
Oh,
mean,
nice.
last year we went to New York for 2,600 miles per person each way. JetBlue will do some crazy deals occasionally for certain cities. So that's where I try to base my positioning around is like Boston, New York, some of those cities that I can get to, like Miami, Dallas, depending on where you're going. So flight
Yep.
positioning is just finding the deal from a big hub in the United States to wherever you're going. And there's another website called
Yep.
flightconnections.com that will help you
Yep.
know like the best airlines to fly to wherever you're going or the best cities to fly from for wherever you're going. And I will use that a lot and get my long haul flight first and then fill in. Like our Denmark trip, I have my long haul flight. I still don't have my flight to get us to JFK. So,
If you need to, you can drive. If you need to,
ooh,
you can drive.
that'd be a painful drive to then sit on an overnight flight to
That
Denmark.
is true.
But
Oh, you
yes,
better start working on it then.
the key about flight positioning that you need to know though is because you might be on different airlines for your long
Yep.
haul flight and your short flight, you need to either arrive the day before. So in our Harry Potter episode, I talked about how we went to Minneapolis the day before, spent the night, explored, just considered it part of our trip, and then flew out. When we go to Copenhagen to Denmark this year, we will most likely go into JFK the day before, spend the night in New York, have all day to explore because they're overnight flights, so we'll be flying out at night. If you don't want to go that route and you want to do same day, give
Yep.
yourself at least 5 hours
Yep.
in between,
Yep.
because that will allow for delays, luggage challenges, because you will have to exit the airport and recheck back in at the desk and then go through security again. So you need plenty of time for all of that.
And like Joy said, I do it a little bit different than she does. So I live by an airport called Grand Rapids Airport. It's about 45 minutes from our house, and that's what I would consider to be my home airport. We usually almost always leave out of there for domestic flights, for Caribbean flights. We find a lot of good deals from there. But otherwise, I guess I do position in the sense that I'll drive to Detroit or Chicago. Both are actually about 3 hours away for us. So anytime I'm flying international, I'm always driving to Detroit or Chicago. But I do it a little different than Joy, where I wouldn't fly from Grand Rapids to JFK to go to Europe. If I can't get it out of Chicago or Detroit, I just don't go. So for me, I agree. I love flight connections. And actually, lately, I've been really obsessed with trying to find direct flights from Chicago and Detroit and basing my trips off of that, which is where I got my idea for our trip that we're taking in September because we have a direct flight on Delta that I booked actually through Air France, but we are flying direct from Detroit to Munich. And it's the same for our potential Jordan trip in 2027. We have a direct flight from Detroit to Amman in Jordan. It's like a 13-hour flight. So it's long, but it's direct. So I'm kind of on this kick right now where I want to see the whole world. And I don't necessarily have a specific place I want to go. I literally want to go everywhere. So my new thing that I'm doing is I'm literally going to Flight Connections. I'm clicking on Chicago and when you look at the website, it shows like these little planes flying to different parts of the world. And I click on those. And then what I'll do is I'll go and see if I can find those flights with partner airlines, especially if it's a Delta flight, as an example, or a United flight. And I'll try to find those direct flights. And that's how I pick my trip. So I haven't
Super
always done it
jealous.
that way. But that's kind of like my new thing right now because layovers are kind of annoying. I don't hate them. I just now that I've flown direct to Europe before, it's so much easier that I just don't want to monkey with it. So I'm like, I'm just going to, for the next few years, I want to try to find as many direct flights as I can and then find new countries like Jordan that I wasn't even on my radar. And then I started to research it and I was like, okay, why have I never wanted to go here before? So it's also kind of a fun new way to explore places that you've never thought of traveling before, too.
So jealous. We just, Nashville, we have a handful of direct flights to Europe, but
Yeah, which is crazy.
they're hard to find on points. Is the other thing I've noticed is that the points flights are never the direct ones unless you're going to Iceland, which is on my
Yep.
list. We just haven't done that yet.
Yes. Yes. But I
So,
think you're right. I am closer to Europe than you are. So I think that's one upside to living in Michigan is we are closer to getting to Europe. So I think that helps. The same for people that are on the West Coast. Like they have more direct flights to Tokyo or Australia or
yeah.
Hawaii, and we live over here and we don't have any of that. We always have to have long layovers for those bigger trips like that. So I think you're unfortunately kind of like in the middle of the United States. So you just can't get anywhere. You can't get anywhere. So that
That's why
kind
I
of
just go
sucks.
to New York, right?
Yes.
We're
No, it's
gonna New
perfect.
York, Boston, we got it. We're gonna get over there. Get
No,
an
that's
extra day.
amazing. That is perfect. So let's talk about Southwest next because lots of families, you have more kids, right? So you're going to need more miles. So the Southwest Companion Pass is a great way for families to be able to travel more without having to spend more miles.
Yes. So the Southwest Companion Pass, there's multiple ways that you can earn it, and we will do a deep dive on this
Yep.
specifically later this year when it is Companion Pass season, which usually hits around October. But right now, the reason why we wanted to bring this up is that there is a credit card offer that you can get BOGO, buy one, get one flights from now through February 2027. And so just by signing up for one credit card, meeting the minimum spend, you will be able to take someone with you on every flight on Southwest for the rest of this year. The thing I love about the Companion Pass is it turns something that is hit or miss on if it's affordable, like money or
Yep.
points wise, and
Yep.
makes it insanely affordable because you only have to pay for one. Whether
Yep.
that's you're paying in points or you're paying in cash, there are no blackout dates on the calendar and you can always take your companion. So there are a lot of families that will get each, like the mom and the dad will each get a companion pass. So then your kids, you can have two kids covered. If you have more kids, you might have to, pay for one of them, unfortunately. But the companion pass is a great way to save money. We will link those cards in the show notes for you so that if you want to look at that offer or jump on it, you can grab it. Because it probably will be ending. I don't know if we have an end date yet, but it'll probably be like early March when it ends. They run it this time every year.
Yep. And I think honestly, now is still a great time to earn the regular companion pass too, with the two credit cards, a business card and a personal card, because it's still early enough in the year. So I think there's two ways to do it right. You could do that promotional offer that they have right now, or you could go ahead and earn it where you'll earn it for 2026 and 2027 because a lot of people when you start in like October, November, they end up messing it up. So hopefully if you listen to our podcast first, you will not mess it up and earn all of your miles too early so that you don't get the companion pass. But if you're nervous about that, now is still a great time, especially if you have some larger expenses like taxes right now. It's tax season or summer camps are coming, maybe different trips that you have coming up. If you could get some good spending in the next 2 or 3 months, you're going to have that companion pass for that whole year and a half, and you're going to have so many miles to use too. So I definitely think no matter how you do it, you really should be getting a companion pass, because Joy and I both have been so many places with our companion passes,
Mm.
including in May, we're going to Hawaii with our companion pass. And that is one that people struggle to find a way to get to Hawaii that doesn't feel like it breaks the bank. And our round trip flights to Hawaii are under $50. So, I mean, people are always shocked when I tell them how much, and our hotels were zero because they were Hyatts. So it's literally for flights and hotels, I've spent under $50 to go to Hawaii. And Hawaii is usually a bucket list destination that people save for years and years to be able to make happen. And that's the Southwest Companion Pass. We wouldn't be able to do it without it. So it's a great card for all families to have.
It really is. And then if you're only paying the taxes and fees, I mean that's
Yep.
$5.60 per person each
Yep.
way if you're covering it in points. If you're not covering it in points, you're paying for one flight and the other one's $5. So it really is a BOGO deal that you can't, I mean, it's one you don't want to miss.
100%. So now that we've talked about flight connections, I think the next step that we want to touch on too is award flight search engines. So,
Yeah.
because you're going to look at flight connections and you're going to see these flights, but you're going to have no idea how to find them and when they are available. So, having some of these search engines and knowing how to use them is really helpful in finding flights.
Yes, and I have two that I really like to use. Rome.travel is a more user-friendly site. It's a little bit more intuitive to use if you've never used these before. Now, Michelle earlier talked about what we call partner airlines, which is a
Yep.
whole nother points and miles rabbit hole. And if you are new to points and miles, do not let that scare you. These search engine tools help you with partner airlines, so you don't have to know how they work. Basically, it tells you the best way to book a flight with the points that you have. And on
Yep.
these search tools, what you do is you just put your home airport, you can put your ending airport. Many of them you can put multiple airports. Like so Michelle could check both Grand Rapids, Chicago, and Detroit at the same time for flights to the ending airport. And then she can put a filter in there and say, I only have Chase points or I only have American Express points, and it will only pull flights that work with the points that she has. And that's the other piece I really like about flight tools is they take away the hard part of searching for you
Yep.
and just give you an easy button. Now, I will say with every search tool I've looked at, and there are quite a few out there, nobody covers every single airline.
Yep.
So just get ready for that. Southwest is not going to be in either one of these. So Southwest, you'll have to go to southwest.com. But these are my
Hmm.
top two, which are Rome.travel and Seats.aero, which we'll also link in show notes if you guys want to go check them out and look at it.
And I think too, if you are a beginner with points and miles, you really honestly just need to put in the hard work to search as many different airlines as you can, because practice makes perfect, right? It's the same with the points and miles hobby. So that's what I did when I first started out. Before I ever used any of these engines to find things, I literally would go through, and sometimes I still forget. Google is your friend, right? You can literally go to Google and say, what are the airline alliance partners with United? And Google is going to tell you. So you don't have to memorize all of these things. You can always go to Google, always go to ChatGPT, and you are going to be able to get help with doing these things. But actually putting in the work yourself to learn how to search for flights is going to make it so much easier later when you are going to book things. You go to seats.aero and then you're already going to know how to do everything, and it's going to make things faster, and it's also going to make your brain kind of light up. Like Joy was saying, when you don't necessarily see an airline that you think should be there, because they all aren't going to be in there. But if
Mm-hmm.
you've done enough manual searches on your own and enough practicing, you're going to know some of those things. And that's going to help you find some of those things that the search engines miss. But I
Yeah.
just love manual searching. It still is a really great way to learn. And especially if you're doing it months before you have to book a flight, it's just for fun. It's practice. go find a flight on seats.aero and then try to find it in different partner airlines and see the points differences. And that's another great way to learn. You've heard Joy and I talk a lot about taxes and fees. A lot of the airlines, we just know now a general idea of what taxes and fees are going to be because we've done so many searches. So
Yeah.
that's going to be another great way for you to learn how to do that and get better at it and quicker at it and more confident. And then you're going to be able to do this all on your own and won't need anybody else to help you.
So true. I know my mom used to talk to me about partner airlines and my eyes would glaze over because I'd be like, Mom, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yep.
Because what you're basically doing is you're booking the same Delta flight, but
Yeah.
instead you're booking it on Virgin for half the amount of points, even though it's the
Yep.
exact same flight. You're just not booking it through Delta. Or same thing with American and Alaska, right? There's
Yep.
just so many tricks with partner airlines where you can save points. And the interesting thing too is that this somewhat works on money, but I've noticed that there are flights that do not pull on money, but points. There's so many more flight options on partner airlines with points.
Yeah.
So there's different tricks and tips and tools out there. The top two that we really like though are seats.aero and roam.travel. Seats.aero is free if you're searching just 3 months in advance. If you need to go farther out than that, it does require a subscription. Roam.travel requires a subscription. And Points Yeah is another one that you can do free searches on. They only give you so many free searches a month. To me, it's not my favorite one, but I know a lot of people use it, especially like Mary Ellen and Joe over at Wonderland on Points, our besties. They love Points.yeah. So those are just some options for you to
Yep.
consider for search tools.
So now that you've found your flight with Rome or Seats.aero, you still are going to have to pay for your flight, right? And like Joy and I were talking about, all flights have taxes and fees. So we wanted to go through some premium card perks that might help you with some of those expenses.
Yes. So I love this. This is one of my favorite things. So some cards come with credits, like travel credits that you can use. Most of those are only on hotels. But cards like the American Express Platinum will have travel credits that you can use to help offset flight costs. And then the City Strata Elite comes with a $200 splurge credit, which you can use on American Airlines, which I use to help offset our taxes and fees for our Denmark trip this year. Or you can go, they has another option is Best Buy. So I know people will go to Best Buy and buy gift cards to like Southwest or their favorite airline, or they'll buy Disney gift cards to use that splurge credit to offset fees or expenses for travel. So having a premium credit card, if you have one, they're really great ways that you can offset taxes and fees by those credits to just help you save even more.
And another great way that you can help erase some of those taxes and fees is using the purchase eraser with the Capital One Venture or Venture X. So that's essentially taking your miles and then you are erasing a part of the purchase with those miles. So we just actually did this for our trip this upcoming September when we go to Europe. We are going to Germany, Austria, Italy, and Slovenia, and we are doing a 2-week RV trip. I had my RV and my flights. So I essentially just kind of lumped it together and I had 120,000 Capital One miles. And I took that and I used those miles to take $1,200 off of that cost. So our flights round trip, I think were about $700 and our camper van was about $1,100. So I erased a huge chunk of that portion of the trip.
That's amazing. So that's
Yep.
$1,200 worth of free travel you got that you were able to book whatever you needed for your travel expenses and just wipe that cost away. That's a
Yep.
huge cost.
It is, yeah, and normally I don't do it that way, because when you do the purchase eraser, you're going to hear people talk about cent per point, which really is not that important. But when you're erasing something, it's 1 cent per point. Where maybe if you would have used those miles for booking an actual flight, you would have maybe got 3 cents per point, 4 cents per point. So you're maybe going to get more out of it. But in the end, you have to decide what's right for your family. And because we travel so much, we really wanted this trip to be as little out of pocket as possible. So to be able to erase $1,200 right there makes that trip amazing, really. Because we have our lodging, our flights, and our car because our RV is our hotel and our car all in one. So we were down now. I think out of pocket in the end, we were at like $700 is what we
Oh
ended up
my
paying
gosh.
total. So really now I've spent $700 and now all I have to pay for is the gas and groceries when we're in Europe and then the excursions that we want to do. So this becomes a very, very discounted trip by using the miles to erase that.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I know we're going to do a Disney episode in March, and that's what I
Yep.
used all my miles for this year. So,
I know. Well, that's another great way. And we should mention that if you're going to use them, it needs to be through undercover tourist, correct? Because if you book it
yeah.
directly through Disney, it won't code as travel. It will code as entertainment and you won't be able to erase the purchase. So just keep that in mind. We will talk much more about this later, but in case you're listening to this first and you get really excited and you go book Disney tickets today, don't book them through Disney because you won't be able to erase them.
Good point. Yes. But
Yes.
this episode is not about how to do
Yes.
Disney on a budget.
Yeah.
It is how to save money on flights that we now went down our little rabbit hole, but
We
we
did.
like to go down rabbit holes because our whole life
We
are rabbit
do.
holes.
It is.
Anyway.
That is our whole life. I know. Okay, we have two more things we want to talk about before we go today. So the first one is getting well, actually, they both are about airline credit cards, but we're going to talk about the first one quickly. So the first one is just getting an airline credit card in general to be able to get some added perks. So one that Joy and I both love is American Airlines. And we've talked about this quite a bit, but there are some perks to having an airline credit card. So, with American Airlines, as an example, you sometimes can get seat upgrades, you can get upgraded with your boarding position, which for me is really big. So, if you've ever flown American Airlines, I believe they have 9 boarding groups. I think it's 9. And basically, if you're 7 through 9, you are going to have to check your bag. For whatever reason, I don't know why they designed the airplanes this way, but they tell you that you get to have your carry on for free. But by the time they get to those last boarding groups, there is no overhead bin space left in the airplane, and you're going to have to check your bag, which isn't the biggest deal. It doesn't cost money. They're letting you check it for free because it's an error on their end, but it is going to take you more time. You're going to get off the plane, you're going to have to wait for the luggage to get off, and if you have a really tight connection, that's a big inconvenience. So when you have an American Airlines credit card, you always board group 5. So I'm not at the very beginning, but I'm also not at the end. No matter what, I'm never going to have to check my carry-on. So for me, I will always keep an American Airlines credit card that has a $99 annual fee because that is a worthwhile perk to me to be able to board earlier.
I mean, even with Southwest, they just changed all their
Yes.
luggage rules. And it's the same thing. Like, if you want to check your bag or you need to check your bag, if you have a credit card, that perk is covered. So you don't even have to worry about the
Yep.
cost of checking it because it's going to be free. Now, depending on the card and the airline, like Southwest, you can get free baggage for you and up to 8 people that are booked with you. I think American Airlines is 8 as well, but there's one airline that's only 6. It just varies by airline. But I mean, if you have that airline credit card and you are taking advantage of the perks and benefits of it, you can get more than your annual fee back in checked baggage if you're traveling with your family and you guys just don't want to deal with it. So it does save you a lot. They also come with other perks like free in-flight Wi-Fi
Yep.
or
Yep.
discounts on beverages and air. So there's other perks that can come with it too.
Yeah, I definitely don't have a lot of them. I'm trying to think which airlines I have. I have American Airlines and I have Southwest. I love my Southwest Premium credit card. That's one of the higher annual fee Southwest cards because also 48 hours before check-in, if you have the premium Southwest credit card, you can actually upgrade to the extra legroom seats. And besides it having extra legroom, you get to board group 2, which now with the way that things have changed with Southwest, if you are those end groups, again, it's going to be very hard, one, to not have your bag have to be checked or to even have it near you. So there have been a lot of things going around lately that if you're not boarded towards the beginning, your bag isn't going to be able to be with you on the plane because someone ahead of you has already taken the overhead bin space where your bag should go. I'm not sure why people are doing that, but it doesn't really make any sense to me. I don't know.
Oh,
But again, it's just really important to to board earlier. So that's my big thing with these credit cards is I just love boarding earlier for that peace of mind for all of my bags that they're on the plane with me, they're right where I want them and I don't have to stress about it.
it's crazy. I know. I have an American card. Well, I have a couple American Airlines cards, and I have a Southwest card. And I have a Hawaiian card that I got just for the miles. But it's all the same thing, right? Like I get the free
Yep.
bags, you get all those
Yep.
perks, and it really does make a difference.
It does. So the last credit card that we want to talk about is the Delta credit card. And neither Joy and I have this card, but both would like to get it at some point. And what's really interesting about it is when you have the card, you save 15% on cash and award flights. So this is really cool because occasionally Delta has really good sales even on points flights. And what you do is if you have the Delta card, you stack that 15% off with the already discounted award flights and you are getting crazy good deals. And I love this too because Delta, even to get over to Europe, has really low taxes and fees compared to other airlines because it's an American carrier. So this is a really great way to not only save money on the points, but also the taxes and fees too.
Yes. Now, so in the show notes, we're going to link the Delta card. We don't have it, but my mom does. So I have her affiliate link and I'll link it for you
Yep.
guys. And then on American, we forgot to mention that I have a current offer right now
Oh,
that you can
yes.
only
Yep.
get from Flying American.
Yep.
And this is my favorite way to earn American Airlines miles because it is the cheapest way to earn
It is.
80,000 miles. And it's
Yep.
an in-flight offer. I will link it with the special code in the show notes. It is spend $1,000 in 90 days and you will earn 80,000 American Airlines miles. This is one of my favorite credit cards I have because, as you've heard us say many times, we love American Airlines. So,
We do. We really do love American Airlines.
and to get my whole family home from Europe, just for point of reference on American, that 80,000 miles was perfect because it was 19,000 miles a person to get us
Yep.
home from Europe. So it is good for one way for a family of four to get
It
you either
is.
to or from Europe. You can get several Caribbean trips in on
Yes.
American, or
Yep.
you can go around the US many times.
Yep. So get an American Airlines card. That's what we're telling you. We do. We love American Airlines. It's one of our favorites.
So, Michelle, before we wrap up, I do just want to mention we've covered several credit cards today, some of our favorite airline cards, but I do want to remind our listeners that when you go to pick a new credit card, you probably already have a strategy on mind on which card to get next. But if one of these offers does jump out at you, don't hesitate to grab it. Above all, please protect your credit. Make sure you can meet the spend in order
Yep.
to get the benefits. Just, we don't want to encourage anyone to get a credit card that is not going to be right for you and meet your personal needs. But we do want you to know the benefits and the values of some amazing offers that are available right now.
And if you aren't sure what card you should get next, you can always message Joy and I on Instagram. We will have our Instagrams linked in the show notes. So that way you know where to find us. send us a quick message. Let us know what cards you have, and we will give you an opinion on what we think you should get next. So if this episode helped you rethink how you book flights, share this episode with a friend who needs to stop overpaying for airfare. And if you haven't already, leave us a 5-star review, and it makes a huge difference. It helps more families find the show and start traveling for less. We are real moms, real travel, real strategies, and we will see you next time.